Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's training session, which is the Stova Essentials class, Introduction to the Registration Module. I am your host, Laura Rutherford. I am one of a team of Stova account administrators here at ASU, working in the Office of University Events and Protocol. I actually do work for ASU. I do not work for Stova, even though I do a lot with Stova, so sometimes it feels like I must work for them. Just a few notes, some housekeeping stuff to get out of the way. Want to let you know that this session is being recorded and that the link will be provided to you via email later today, maybe sometime tomorrow, with a link so that you can see everything, including these slides, to use for your benefit. So in case there's any confusion, Stova is the same platform we've been using for the last 6 years. They were once known as Eventry, and sometimes just from the very beginning, eTouches. It's all the same platform that we've been using quite successfully for the last little while. And if as you're going through some of the pages, you might even see the old names on some of the pages. It's all good. It's all the same platform. Feel free to ask questions wherever we are during the training. You can either unmute your microphone and ask directly, or if you feel more comfortable, feel free to ask your question in the chat, and we'll try to get those questions answered. There'll be a little time at the end for you to ask questions as well. So, if you have a question, please ask it. So what we'll be talking about today, we'll be creating a new registration site, customizing that registration site. We'll be doing some final prep and going live, and then we'll talk to you at the very end about support options for both here at ASU and with with Stova directly. So what's our use case? Well, looks like we have a dean in our fake college, and we have the dean is hosting a new welcome reception for a new director. Faculty, staff, and students will be invited. There'll be a large welcome reception for everyone who's been invited, followed by a private meet and greet with faculty only. The dean wants to know which faculty will be attending the private meeting, and the meet and greet will include food. So that means we're going to be using a free event. We'll be setting up some categories. We're going to be changing the event info to collect what we need: basic contact, the department, campus, dietary requirements, but only for the faculty because they're the only ones eating the food at the private meet and greet. We'll be allowing group booking for faculty and staff, but not students. And then we'll be putting together a session so that our faculty can choose to attend or not. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, to get into my account, as usual, we'll be going through the stova.asu.edu webpage that we've developed for Stova support here at ASU. And it's just easy for me to get in and log in here. Click the yellow button, and I'll sign in with the single sign-in. And there we are. And our fake college, by the way, is the College of Really Cool Ideas, just so you know. One of the things we'll be talking about today is the fact that we need to sort of start with using our template. And why do we want to do that? Well, you see that big blue button that says create new event. We could start there, but when you do that, basically what you're doing is starting completely from scratch. There's no ASU branding. You're using the basic page that Stova itself has put together to get started from the very beginnings. It has lots of extra questions. You'd have to fix all of the colors. You'd have to fix some of the graphics. Really, you are benefited by using one of the templates that we've put together for ASU. That includes all of the latest branding from brand standards. And it makes it much easier, especially as you're new, to get started in creating a new event. And how do we do that? Well, we don't click the blue button. What we do instead is we come over to our college and we click that little plus button. And there we find that we have a brand template. We're going to click in there. And this is the ASU template for the basic event, all right? Now, if I were to click here and start filling this out, it would no longer be a template. So best practice is for you to clone this so that you always have a template in hand, and then the clone will become your new event. Now, if you should get a little excited and just start filling this out and you need a new clone or a new template, just reach out to us, let us know. It happens all the time, and we can put a new one in your folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and clone this. I need to name it. I'm going to call this New Director Reception. And I'm going to put it in a folder that's not in the templates. Instead, I'm just going to go ahead and move it to the main folder. Okay. Now, this is the only module you need to worry about. So it's go ahead and clicked, and that's the registration module. So we're going to go ahead and submit this. Takes a minute to process. Now it brings us to this page. Now on this page, it shows you all the other modules that are associated with the registration module that you could use to help support this event. We're not going to be talking about any of these today. So since we know that registration is already triggered, we're going to go ahead and move on. Now, one of the things to do is to come over here to registrations and hover. You can hover over it and you see there's a huge drop-down list, but we actually need the main registrations page, which is sort of an overview page. And we're going to go ahead and click that. This is our overview page. See up here, it has our new director reception, which is what we've named it. We have the 6-digit event number that you'll use if you have to ask questions for support, either Stova support or ASU support. We're going to ask you for that 6-digit number. So keep in mind that that's a valuable piece that you're going to need. All right. Now, mostly on this page, what we need right now is we need to scroll all the way down and go to the ASU merge fields. These merge fields are going to become necessary as we move forward. Merge fields is how we put in information once and then use merge fields to pull it forward into various pages as we're going along. We'll save you some time and some look and feel that you won't have to develop because we've already done it once. Now the university name's already filled out. We're going to fill out our unit name, which is College of Really Cool Ideas. I'm going to fill out the PO box. And the zip code. We use our ASU unit phone number. And go ahead and fill out our unit email. Okay. When we do anything on any of these pages, you're going to be asked to save it. I like to use save and stay. Save and stay is exactly what it sounds like. I have saved it, I've stayed on the same page, and then I can move forward. If you click save and exit just to show you what happens and what it looks like, it will still save it, but what it will do is take you to the next master page sort of above it, and often will bring you back to this field. Okay, if that happens, you can use this recently viewed button. And there's the event, the new director reception. Okay, takes us back to this overview page. So now I want to scroll over registrations again. I'm going to click registration settings. Now, as you're going forward, you'll notice that there are a couple of pages or a couple of fields that have these hot pink or red asterisks. Basically, those are the fields that are required. Some of these fields are forward-facing and your attendees will see them, and some of them are internal to you. If you're not sure what this field does, feel free to scroll over to the blue question mark, and it will tell you what you're looking at, okay? Now, when you name this event, you can have a working title, and leave it as your working title all the way up until you choose to go live. When you go live, the title should be the title that you're going to use then forward, and you don't really want to change it once you go live. But up until then, feel free to go through whatever iteration. So if you're working on an event months in advance, trying to get ahead, and you need a working title because the powers that be haven't decided, use it. And then once you decide, once the committee has given you a choice of what the new event is going to be called, you can come in here and change it. Anytime you make a change, of course, you want to click Save and Stay. I like the name that I've chosen, so I'm going to go ahead and move forward. Event type is super handy. The reason why is because maybe your dean or your VP will come to you and say, hey, how many receptions have we had? How many workshops have we done? Have we done any orientations or lectures? If you filled this out and this is not one of the forward-facing fields, then you can do a cross-event report and let your dean know how many receptions you've done in the last year or 6 months, okay? So really the event type is for your, reporting structures. Here's the next really important field that you're going to want to fill out, which is the event status. Notice it's one of the other fields that has the asterisk. Right now, we're in pre-event. That means if we were to click on the URL and start testing this, it would say you are currently testing this event. Anything that is in test can be easily cleared out before you go live. That makes sure that if you have maximum registrations because you have limits for your room or maybe for your budget, that you can clear those out and it will not be impacted by your testing process. But on the other hand, you want to make sure that you click and go live before you send out your invitations. I have gotten everything all ready, sent out the invitations, still been pre-event, and gotten panicked phone calls from VPs and provost offices saying, why are they still seeing you're in test? Don't do as Laura has done at the very beginning. Do as Laura has suggested to you as a best practice. Pay attention to what your event status is. Very easy to change, and we'll do that at the very end, but just to show you, it's a drop-down box, and I would go live and click Save and Stay when I'm ready, okay? Now you have an opportunity to do maximum registrations, and that's really a capacity field. All right, so you want to think carefully about this. Are you in a space that needs capacity? Are you doing a hybrid event? Are you doing an event that maybe is a festival and it doesn't have a limit? You do not have to put any number in here if you don't need it. You can leave it blank, okay? The same goes with the registration close date. If you don't need to close registrations to be able to give an accurate food count or to be able to provide materials, you can leave that blank as well. But if you need that information and you need it to be solid, then go ahead and put in a maximum registration, put in a close date. For today's event, we're gonna go, because we do have some food that's going to be ordered, let's go ahead and say that we do need to know what our registration close date. So let's pretend that our new event is going to be in May, okay? And matter of fact, it's gonna be May 8th. All right, so that's the date of the event. That's not the date we actually want to close. We want to close maybe on Friday the 3rd, so we've got time to get to the caterer and tell them what we need in terms of food ordering. I'm going to close this event for May 3rd, and 5 o'clock is okay with me. But if I wanted a different time, you can see this is in 15-minute increments that go all the way up to 11:45 p.m., okay? I'm going to leave it at 5 p.m. for right now. Now in the template, we have a registration closed message. You don't have to use our message. This is put in here for your benefit in case you either forget that you need a closed message or you need an idea of what it should include. But if you need to change this to meet your needs, feel free. But one of the things you need to do if you change this is you're going to want to go into this little square. Any field that you see that has a little square means it requires some HTML coding. Now, could you just go in here and type in whatever message you want? You could, but unfortunately, without the HTML coding, basically you're going to have one long run-on sentence and there won't be any structure to it, okay? So by clicking in here, you can use the toolbar, make it pretty, make it centered, make it in color, make something in bold, etc. All right, this allows you to do all those things. So if you make any changes, when you're done, you're going to want to come in here and click the update and exit, okay? Now this is the first time you're really seeing the use of the merge codes. So this is pulling the name of your event from that title that we put in at the very beginning. So it will say, because of this merge code, thank you for your interest in the new dean, in the new director reception. Okay, this is another merge code here, the contact info. And basically we haven't gotten there to fill that out yet. But once we do, when someone hits this close message, they would have this information available to them. But again, change this to meet your needs. If I've made any changes, I'm going to want to click update and exit. Okay. Now, insert name of ASU person in charge of the event. This is not forward facing. This is really for your benefit. Okay. This is so, look, cap locks. This is so that if you're working on an event, because some of you will be in folders with multiple people that have access to the same folder, maybe you see an event and you want to know, oh, who's in charge of that one? Or maybe your director comes to you and says, hey, who's in charge of that new director event? Who is that? You could come in here and look. So really this is to your benefit and also for the administrators of Stova. We are occasionally asked, hey, we understand that there's an event going on. I think it's called the new director reception. I think it's in May. Can you look for it? And then can you tell us who's in charge of that event? We're occasionally asked, and it's really helpful for us to have this filled up. Okay. Now, where's this event going to be held? We're going to go ahead and hold it here at the Tempe campus, okay, Memorial Union. And there we've got the address all set up. Only thing we need to change is the zip code because that's the PO box zip code, and the actual physical location is 85281. Okay, we like all of that. I could fill out any of the rest of this if I wanted, but I don't need it, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it. Now the select venue button is not for ASU clients. Okay, this is a Stova benefit for other clients that operate more like a travel agency. And it's not something that is really benefit to ASU. So now we decided that our event was on May 8th. So we're going to go in here and find our date. Okay, need to change the time. I think a reception should be 5 o'clock. So there is 5 p.m. I'll go ahead and click that. Okay. Now we need to end the date. If I don't change this, it's going to look like our event is a month and a half long. So make sure you change that. Okay, and we're going to change this until 6:30. All right. Now the date format here is basically in the template is, so this would read anywhere the date pops up. It'll say Wednesday, May 8th. 2024. You can change it if you don't like that style to any of these styles. Be advised, once changed here, it will be reflective across your whole registration site. I happen to like this style, so I'm going to leave it. Same thing for your time of day. 12-hour clock is pretty USA standard. If, though, you have an audience maybe that's primarily European or maybe a military audience, you could change it to one of these two clocks. This is a more European style, and of course, this is more of a military style, okay? And the time zone. It's best practice to go ahead and use the time zone in which the physical event is taking place. So right now that's Arizona, so we're gonna leave it, but it has all of the time zones. Of course, Arizona is special because we don't follow the daylight savings. So we just stay, the generic mountain time. That's not what GMT stands for, by the way. That's just what I call it. So we stay in mountain time the whole time, standard mountain time. So, or mountain standard time, sorry, MST. So the only time this becomes an issue is if you have a virtual or hybrid event. So if either of those occur, you're going to really want to think about using Arizona time as your time and maybe switching it to something like Pacific or Eastern time, because the rest of the United States has a difficult time understanding what Arizona time means as it relates to their own time. So if they're in Arizona, they're going to reset their clocks. They're going to know what time your event is at. But if you're doing something virtual or hybrid, they may not understand what time your session starts because they don't understand what Arizona time means. So keep that in mind. All right. Now we have contact info. I told you we'd get there. So let's go ahead and go into the HTML editor button, just like that, and format our contact info. This again is College of Really Cool Ideas. Okay, and I'll go ahead and put myself as the contact person. And I don't really want people calling me, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Instead, I'm just going to go ahead and put in my email. Now, if I needed to, I don't have to use this structure. I could put in for questions about the event, contact Laura at this, for questions about t-shirts, if that was a possibility, or for questions about the academic something or other. I could really format this to meet the needs of my event. So just be advised that just because we have this set up this way, you need to set this up the way that works for you. Okay, it's very customizable. So I've made some changes, so I want to go ahead and put in update and exit. Now I've made a bunch of changes on the whole page, so let's click save and stay. All right. Now one of the things I didn't mention as we were getting started is the fact that the minute I clicked clone, we got our own unique event URL. Now you'll notice it is branded as an ASU site, right? specialevents.asu.edu. And then it's slash those 6-digit numbers. It's the same as this six-digit number. Now, for the most part, we believe that you as event planners are going to be using this behind a button on your invitation, right? That says register here, click here, etc. And you're not going to need to know or have anything special for your event URL. But if you do, this is one of the places you can change it. You can come down here, and I could change this to new director. And that URL is available. And all I would do is say save and stay. And now my specialevents.asu.edu/new director. Okay, so you could put your keywords there. If you're going to put this out on a postcard, or if you're going to send it out, maybe you need to just forward the link in the email somewhere. This way it looks like a little more like it's focused for your event. If you don't need it, then don't worry about it. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this off in case someone in the future needs a new director URL. I'm going to hit save and stay, and you can see that that's back to that 6-digit number as the identifier. Okay. Now I'm going to hit save and stay one more time because really, folks, you can't hit it enough. All right. Now, how do we continue to customize this registration page? All right. We've got all of the information in about when the event is and where it's at. Okay. Now we need to include some other information. The way we're going to do that is we're going to go to categories. Okay. And what are categories? Categories, we like to say, are the first question that you ask your attendees as they come into your page. You don't always need to use them, but when you do, they're so helpful. In this particular case, we do need to divide our attendees into 3 categories. We need to know who the students are, who's the faculty, and who's the staff. Because remember, we're not going to allow students to make group reservations, and we're going to invite faculty to a special meet and greet at the end of the reception. So because we're going to separate these categories, we're going to be able to customize it so that only faculty see the food question, and only the faculty sees the opportunity for this meet and greet. Student and staff will not see those opportunities, okay? And students will not have the option of registering extra guests, all right? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a category. first one is faculty, okay? Now, if my category name was fairly long, I could come in here and put a short name in. That just helps with reporting to make everything look nice. I don't need to do that in this particular case. If I needed to, for example, if my reception, my meet and greet had a specific number that I could, maybe there was a maximum capacity for that section, but not for the entire event as a whole, I could put in here that for that meet and greet, I can only have 150 people. And I could put that in, and then I could put in a specialized close message if I should reach that capacity. Now in this particular case, I'm not worried about those numbers, so I'm not going to do anything else to this page at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and click Save and Stay. Now the moment I did that, one of the other things you can do with categories is it provides you with a direct link. Now, if I was worried about staff and students figuring out that there was this meet and greet, I could use this direct link right here that goes specifically to faculty, and I could send faculty their own invitation with this link, and they would click on this and it would go right to the page without asking them any additional questions, and we wouldn't have any folks maybe making, especially a naughty student making a choice to pretend that they're faculty when they're not. So if that was a concern, or maybe you have a donor group that maybe is not as tech friendly and you want to make the registration process super easy for them. And so for a donor group, you send them this link and maybe they're only asked their first and last name and then they're registered. They don't have to answer any of the other questions because you don't want to provide any sort of rough spots for them during the registration process. So there's lots of reasons categories are super helpful, and this is just a few of the reasons. So I'm going to go ahead and say save and exit. Okay, I'm going to add another category. Here's staff. Save and exit. Add a category, and then I have students, and we'll be done with this. Now, you also have the option, for example, if you needed to know maybe a difference between undergrad and grad students, you could, once you've saved, you could make a subcategory, okay? You could add a sub category if you needed it for undergrad versus grad, if you needed to know the difference, okay? So you can do subcategories as well, all right? So I don't need that right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and save and exit, and now I'm done. Now, because we have these other three categories, I don't need anybody to see the general admission, so I'm gonna take that out of public view, I'm gonna save and stay. And now, for now, I'm done with categories. We're going to come back to categories and talk about them some more as we ask additional information of our attendees. The next field we need to worry about is attendee info. Okay. Now on this page, we're going to ask the questions that you want your attendees for the information you need from your attendees. It can be as simple or as complex as you need it to be. We have seen, for example, summer camps or conferences that get very elaborate in the amount and number of questions that they ask. And we've seen pages where seriously all they need to know is email, first and last name, and maybe a phone number. And that's all the information they need. It just depends on what your event requires, okay? So as you're planning your event, those are some of the questions you need to be asking yourself. Now, these first set of questions, all right, and the active questions are basically, this is the first page you're going to see. And basically, the only question they're going to be asked, other than the category question on that first page, is email address, okay? This other information you see here, heading no input, basically is informational, all right? If they're the primary registrant, they get a little line that says to continue, click here. If they're adding additional attendee, they'll get a little more help text that says, please put in the email for your additional attendee, then click continue. So basically it's just informational, sort of velvet glove handling, if you will. Once they've put in their email address, then we're going to use to ask them the rest of their questions, all right? So here are some of the questions that are available to you, and see how they're all checked with those blue check marks. If they're checked in blue, it means they're visible. If they're checked in required, it means it's visible and required. Now, if it's not visible, it can't be required, okay? Just so you know, there's a difference. It can be visible and not required, but it can't be required and not visible, all right? So the system is smart enough to be able to tell you, hello, what are you doing? But there's a couple of important things that I need to relay to you today about these questions. You notice here that most of these questions have this little blue computer, okay? This means that they are a system or account level field, okay? So this field is expecting prefix. If you don't need it, that's fine. Make it non-visible and non-required, and they will never see it. However, do not convert it to something that you do need, okay? You have two kinds of questions. You have the system level questions and you have event level questions. You can add as many event level questions as you need, but do not change the intent of a system level field. If you do that naughty thing, then you get the wrath of me and Steve coming back to you and saying, hey, please don't do that, because it causes all kinds of problems in the system. It will cause problems with your cross-event reports, and it can cause problems in the future for other Stova users here at ASU. So for example, if you don't need prefix and you decide to convert it to an event question of, hey, what's your favorite color? Because maybe you're going to give out a t-shirt or some sort of, promotional event. Then they say that their favorite color is maroon. And then the next person who needs to do a registration and maybe is inviting some of the same folks that you've just had at your event, if that person who filled out maroon as their favorite event then has to fill out this prefix field, it's very possible that it will pre-populate maroon as their prefix. So then they become Maroon Laura Rutherford instead of Ms. Laura Rutherford, or whatever prefix that I would have selected. So again, this has an expectation, and you know what that expectation is by hovering over and finding out what that is. That's not to say that you can't clarify. For example, title, okay? This has an expectation of title. Maybe your attendees need some clarification as what is it, what do you mean by title? You can say, what is your work title? What is your nonprofit title? Okay, so that's not changing the expectation. We're still getting a title, but we're clarifying is the kind of title that we need. Okay, and if you're going to change it in any way, just for clarification, you'd come over here to the edit button, and I could come in here to the HTML editor. I'm going to put in work title, update and exit, save and exit. So now it says work title, okay? For this event, I could have put ASU title, all right, if I needed to. So that becomes, that's how you change that, but only if you need to clarify. You're not changing the intent, okay? Now, what do we need to know from these folks? Well, we need to know their first name and their last name. All right, those are required fields. We'll go ahead and leave the suffix in. All right, not everybody has one, but those who do, they might want to use it. Okay, we need to know their work title, but company or organization doesn't really fit. We really want to know their department and unit because this is an internal event. So we're going to go ahead and uncheck this because we don't need it. All right, I'm going to come up here. I'm going to save and stay because I've made some changes. Now there's a bunch of questions that aren't even on this page that are system level questions that you might be going along going, oh, I can't believe they didn't put in ASU right as a system level field. Well, guess what, folks? We did. They're just not something everybody needs, so they're inactive questions. All right, all of these are inactive questions. Okay, now you can use any of these. Do not use these account level fields. All right, it even says do not use these. Okay, these are system level fields that we're holding in reserve. They won't do you any good, and they'll just make us cranky if you use them. Again, use as many event level fields as you need, and I'm going to show you how to ask an event level question here in just a minute. In the meantime, we need to find the department unit. That's the question we need, okay? So how do we move it? We come over to the edit field. All right, there's the question. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. We're going to move it from inactive questions to the attendee information page. Okay? I'm going to save and exit. All right. Oh gosh, we're still on inactive. How do we get back? Just click on active questions. And then to find that, anytime you either add a question or move one over, it'll be at the bottom of your active questions, okay? But we don't really want it there. Let's say we want it above or right below the work title, okay? There we are. So now we need to make sure that it's visible, okay? And we're not going to put required because not everybody, maybe the student won't understand that question, so we're just going to make it visible, all right? We've made a change. We'll go ahead and hit save and stay. And what other questions do we need to ask? All right, we've got work title, department unit. We don't need to know their address, or state or city or zip, okay? We're just going to use the one phone number, okay? And now that's good. So we're going to save and stay. But remember, we're going to have that little meet and greet, and there's going to be food. Always nice to ask folks if they've got some sort of food allergy or some food requirement, so you don't have to hear about it the day of that you haven't made accommodations. This is when we add an event level question. Okay, we click that add a question. We're going to come in here to the HTML editor. I know all of my questions are actually bolded, so I'm going to go ahead and bold it. I'm going to ask my question. Food requirements. Okay. Update. Now, it's on the attendee information. That's great. But if I do anything else, it's just going to show up as information, just a single line of text. But what we need to do is turn it into, how do I get that information back, right? Now, I could use a single line of text and then they could tell me a story. And let me tell you folks, if you do it, you will get a story. It's really much easier on you as the event planner if you give them options, all right? And to do that, you can choose either multiple checkboxes or radio buttons. Strongly suggest multiple checkboxes because you could have someone who is gluten-free and vegan, and so they need to be able to mark more than one box. Okay, so now I'm going to specify my checkboxes. Okay, vegetarian, vegan, gluten-free, food allergy or religious exception. Okay, and then I like to put in, please specify in the comments below. Okay, I'm going to hit save and exit. All right, now, the other thing we need to do is make sure not everybody can see this. Here's our visibility settings. This is one of the reasons we like categories. So the only people that need to see this is faculty. So here we are, faculty, okay? Now we're not making it required because not everybody has any kind of food exception or food requirements, all right? We're gonna go ahead and hit save and exit. All right, and we're gonna move this to right below the phone number. Hit save and stay. Here we go. Now I bet you'd kind of like to see what does this look like so far, all right? Now we could go ahead and click the event URL and do a full registration, but we don't need to right now. All we're doing is a look-see. One of the really handy things you can do is hover over registrations and go into preview event. Now you can see, because we use the template, that we have ASU branding already in hand, all right? So we have this, we have all the colors, we have our sort of our innovation background in the background. Those are all things that can be changed, and you can learn that in the more advanced master classes. We're not going to talk about that today, but you can see how this page starts working. Okay, and to get started, you can see that velvet glove. All right, you would put your email address in here, and they would need to mark which of these things they are. Now, to move around in the preview event, all right, we're going to change the page to the attendee information page, and we're not looking at general admission, we're looking at faculty. Now, see faculty, we can see that food requirement, okay? But we can also see that I didn't give them an option to make any comments. So, oh gosh, okay, I didn't do that. How do I fix that? Well, I just come back up to my tab and I add another question. All right, this is a super easy one. Go in. All right, update and exit, save and exit. Now this is a question that everybody can see, except because you might have accommodations that are not food related. So I need to make sure that this is where they can tell me a story if they need to. So save and exit. All right, and I'll put that right below the food. Now anything that has these little gray dotted lines means that that's something that can be reordered. All right, you can move it where you need it. All right, save and stay. So now I can come back up to preview event. I can refresh the page. I do have to go in and reorder what I'm doing. All right, and I see I forgot to bold this, which I'm not going to fix right now because we're running out of time, but I could go back into that question, into the edit, and I could go back to the HTML editor, highlight this, make it bold, and it would be fixed. All right, that's really why it's really handy to have this preview, because then you can bounce back and forth and fix things as you go. All right, but let's take a look, because I promised you that the rest of the crew couldn't see this. How do I prove that? Well, if I do staff, you can see they have all the questions, but nothing about the food, but they still see the comments and questions, okay? So that's preview event, super handy. I use it all the time, especially as I'm building my registration pages. Okay. So we've got that down. We've got our questions just the way I want them, all right? I'm gonna go into agenda because I need to ask specifically if our lovely faculty will be joining us in the meet and greet. So we're going to add a session. And this is a single session checkbox. So they're going to put in, they're going to check it if they're coming. We need to put in the date. It's still May 8th. Start time. This is super handy, folks, if you have an event that is, say this starts at 6 o'clock and it ends at 6:30. This is super handy if you have breakout sessions. Excuse me. If you have breakout sessions for something like a conference or a workshop, you can put in, you can see here, your sessions. multiple sessions, and people can choose that they're going to room A to learn about underwater basket weaving, or room B to get a lecture about, XYZ. So super handy to be able to make those changes. Now I've got the date, I've got the time, and I need to ask the question. And that question is going to be, I will attend the meet and greet. Okay. Excellent. I don't need any of this, but I do need to look at the visibility settings. Okay. Not everybody can see this option. I only want faculty to see this option. Okay. Save and exit. All right, go back to preview event. And now it wasn't available before, but because, oh wait, let me go ahead. If you see here, because it wasn't available before, right? But if I refresh this page, all of a sudden we'll see an agenda page available. So, agenda. Now, if you are not a member of the faculty, you're not even going to see this, all right? You're going to go right by this page. Nobody will see it, only the faculty. If you're faculty, this is the page you will see. All right? Going ahead and keep moving forward, okay? So now we've done everything the dean has asked for, right? This will tell us who's coming to the private meet and greet. We've directed who our categories of faculty, staff, and student. There's a couple more things we need to do. One of those things is we need to go back to event info. We need to talk a little bit about registrant rules. This is something you need to think about before you start building your page. Are you going to let your attendees do group bookings? Okay. If you are, great. Are you going to allow everybody to do it? Well, we already know we don't want students to do group bookings because we talked about that at the beginning. So I'm going to uncheck this, and I'm going to say that faculty and staff can do group bookings, but that means students won't get the opportunity. Okay. Now, if they do group bookings, do you want everybody in the group to get a confirmation? Or do you want only the main individual to get the confirmation, okay? Perhaps you only want to allow a maximum number of people per group registration. So perhaps you're only going to allow them to book a guest, all right? So in that case, a maximum of additional attendees to allow per station would be 1. Maybe you want to limit it to 4 people. This is where you would do it. So it's very handy, and this is one of those things where you can get very granular about how your registration process works, all right? So registrant rules, super helpful. One of the other things you need to remember is that this looks like this must be something that'd be super helpful. It really isn't very helpful, and it makes it very difficult to track. This count doesn't get added to your maximum. So if your capacity limits are very strict, this is not the field you need to use, okay? Even Stova itself doesn't recommend it. They instead say do group bookings. That allows you to keep track of who's coming. It gets you additional information, etc. So really double check, double think, even reach out and ask us questions before you click this, okay? Now, there's some other things you need to think about. Are you going to allow them to come back in and change their mind? Are they allowed to cancel? Are they allowed to modify in some way, maybe add a guest, etc.? If so, then you allow them to log back in and modify it. If you don't want them to make any modifications, then you unclick it, okay? And these are all the things that you can allow them to modify, okay? So this is a page that you really want to kind of go into and take a look at. All right, super helpful. And again, this is registrant rules. All right. Now, the last thing that we really need to talk about before we can get started and get going is, and get ready to go live, is you want your individuals to receive a confirmation email. So that's here in event emails. That's under the event info tab, okay? So event emails, we have some templated emails all ready for you to come in and make the changes you need to, all right? Now, the one we're going to talk about today is the confirmation email. But what I show you on the confirmation email needs to be done at least on the cancellation, the incomplete, and the updated, okay? So what do we need to do? Well, we need to say, who is this email from? And this is where you start doing that. Now you see here, the email type is an initial confirmation, all right? And this is where we start pulling in information from those merge fields, okay? So again, this will say confirmation for the new director reception, all right? Who is it from? Now, hopefully you have a unit email address that you can use and it's not coming from an individual person, but maybe it's coming from your college. And for example, here, I'm gonna put College of Really Cool Ideas, all right? Now, you notice this little extra A. I'm telling you folks, this is not a mistake. This is called DMARC. This is a security precaution given to us as a third-party enterprise unit that sends out mail at ASU that tells the ASU system that we are safe, that we have gone through the security procedures, all right? So you do not want to forget this A, because if you do, you'll get a message saying that this email is not approved, all right? This domain name is not accurate. We get lots of questions about this. It's one of our most frequently asked questions. And all you have to do is come back in here and add that little extra A in the from email. You don't need it in the reply to email, only in the from email, okay? Now, who's it from? All right, well, I'm gonna say it's from the College of Really Cool Ideas. All right, you can say an individual's name, you could say your dean's name, you could say President Michael Crow, but make sure you have permission to use that from name, okay? Because it will eventually catch up to you. So you want to be very strategic from the from name, all right? Now the reply to, you don't want it to go maybe, if you've put your the provost here, if you've put your dean here, you don't want them to answer the questions, right? They're busy doing other things. Then you can put your own email address here, or you can send it back to your unit address again. So I am going to do that because I'm going to pretend it's a public folder. Multiple people can look at it. And College of Really Cool Ideas here. But I could also put my own email address here, and I could put my own name here, right? Because those questions are coming back to me as the manager of this particular event. All right, so now we come down to what does your email look like? All right, now remember I told you those merge codes would become handy? Well, looky here. Here's that merge code from that very first page we looked at. So here it will automatically pull College of Really Cool Ideas, which is super handy. I could put in a picture of a reception here. I could put in a graphic that says the name of the event. You can put whatever graphic you need to, all right? It's pretty easy to do. The instructions of how to do that are on our stova.asu.edu page, and you also can learn that in the master classes, all right? Now, as you come forward, all right, you can do all of these all of this stuff can be changed out. This is again just the template, right? This is our suggestion to you. So here it say, Dear Laura, thank you for your registration to the new director reception. Here's the start date. Here's all the information of where it's located. Obviously this is Latin that you would want to change out, okay? And you could say, more details to come in your reminder email a few days before the event. I could put anything I needed to here, okay? Look forward to seeing you there. And I come up here and say the event team. Right. And all right, now here's another handy place that those merge codes are going to be available. All right, it's going to pull over that contact info that we've already pulled up. All right, come down here. Again, this is going to fill out with all that stuff we did on that first page. Only thing I need to do is come down in here and put in a 4 space. All right, so now this looks the way I like it. Yay. I can send a test to myself, all right, to see what that's going to look like. I can preview the email, although that's not super handy to me really. The send a test email, much better, right? It's going to send it to my email address. Send test now, and it will send me a test. All right, that way, if you need to, you can send it to your dean or whoever else is helping you test all of your emails. I've made a lot of changes, so make sure you hit save and stay. All right, so now I've done all of this work. Excellent. Before you go live, you're gonna wanna make sure that you test the heck out of this. How do you do that? All right, well, you click on this and you register, all right? You pretend you're all of these things. You go in and you register 3 times. You pretend you're faculty, you pretend you're staff, you pretend you're a student. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and register just to show you the process. All right, here I am. All right, I'm not gonna fill any of that out. UEP, oh, okay. A phone number, I was gonna say 602-555-5555. Too many fives, okay. I'm gonna pretend I'm a vegan and I have nothing to do there, so I'm gonna go ahead and click continue. All right, I will attend the meet and greet. Click continue. See, this is where it asks you, will you be registering any attendees? When the student gets here, it's going to skip this page entirely. They're not even going to see it. All right, I don't want to. So continue. Here it tells you all the things you've done. All right, great. So I have a test registration. Excellent. Now, how do we clear that test registration? Because I told you you could. You come down to reports and functions. Over here in special functions, you come down to clear test registrations. So I have tested it. It looks great. I'm getting ready to go live. I need to clear all my tests. I say, okay, excellent. Now, I also want to clear any incomplete registrations that may have occurred while I've been testing. So I would do that as well. I know I don't have any, so I'm not going to click on it, but it's the same procedure. It's going to ask you, are you sure? And you're going to say, yep. And then it's going to tell you how many went through, okay? So now how do we go live? We go back to registration settings, come down here, click preview where it says pre-event, and now we're going to click live, and we're going to click save and stay. Now, if we click up here, it no longer says you are testing this event. See? Now we are live. And that's how you do it, folks. I know I went really fast, which is now we're going to allow you to ask your questions in the minute or 2 we have left. Feel free to unmute or to ask questions in chat. I know we went really fast, so fear not.
I'll just unmute if that's okay. Can you hear me?
Sure, I can.
Okay. Hi, my name's Nancy. My question is, yes, it went really fast, and unfortunately I got interrupted a couple times by my boss. So my question is, I know it's recorded. Will we have access to the recording?
You will indeed. We'll send that out probably tomorrow. You'll get an email, maybe tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
And you'll have access to that
Okay,
pretty
because
much as
it'll
long as you
be
need
something
to.
I'll want to refer back to, so that'll
Sure,
be very helpful. So thank you.
you're very welcome. Any other questions? We'll see that even as fast as I went, that we are at time. So, that being said, we know you may have questions later on. And so we're going to put up our support slide for you. Okay. So if you have questions, something occurs to you, we have a couple of support options for you. We have a really great Stova community in our Slack channel. People have been using Stova since the very beginning, and you'll get great questions on there from people who have been using a long time and people who are brand new to Stova. And so Steve and I monitor those, monitor that Slack channel, but a lot of times it gets answered by some of our other in-house experts here at ASU. So the minute you get your account, you are also a member of the Slack channel. So just go to the asu-stova.slack.com, and that's how you can find a lot of answers if you have questions. We have our website that we talked about, which is the stova.asu.edu page. Has a lot of sort of tricks and tips, including some videos that you can use to answer some questions. Feel free to email us at stova@asu.edu. We have a YouTube channel on the page where we have some other available trainings for you to take a look at. And also we teach other webinars during the semester. We've been through almost all of our master classes at this point, but we'll be teaching a couple more classes this year. And then this summer we'll be going through the process again. We encourage you to sign up. And then if we're not available, because Steve and Marissa and I, we actually are employees of ASU, and so we're not 24/7, sadly. But Stova is, so you can talk to the vendor itself and use the Stova support. Email support@stova.io. You can go to their website, and you do that by clicking on the stack on the Stova page. There's three hot pink or red lines. We call that the hamburger. You click on that, and if you do that, you'll go and you'll see this support button. And that's how you get to all these other things. They have on-demand videos and training, all kinds of things. They're super great for their support site. So we sure appreciate you checking in and hope you have a great day.